All right, everyone. Well, I'm here with a very special guest. Her name is on the screen. Her name is Jenna Lyles. And I know some of you in my audience have definitely already experienced some of the products that she represents and that she is responsible for being on the market right now. The brand is called Dasein, and we'll be talking about the brand in terms of her history with it and where it's at right now and where it's going and all that stuff. But first, hi, Jenna. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Justin?
I'm great. I'm wonderful. Just wanted to give the viewers a little bit of background on how we became connected through this brand. I think was it 2020 when you got involved with Dasein, or was it the next
2021.
year? It was
Early
2021.
2021, yeah.
And it's so random because I had maybe just the previous year just heard about I had heard about the brand before that, but I'd finally got my hands on some samples in 2020 upon hearing that this brand was essentially closing their doors. And I'm like, smelling all the fragrances, like, how did this not work? These fragrances are incredible. Like, what happened? Fast forward, I start seeing some buzz like, oh, Dazein's coming back. Oh, okay, good timing. And then we get in touch, and we've been in touch ever since. And it's just been wonderful to not only get to know the brand, but also to talk about the fragrances and share them because I absolutely love them. But before we get into Dasein and all that, so people can get to know you a little bit in the lens of perfumery, I'd love to know just like your history or relationship with perfume wearing, with, whatever it is that drew you into wanting to smell nice or smell interesting? Any particular fragrances you've experienced along the way?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I love all your content and just excited to talk fragrance with you today. So, I was not a big fragrance wearer before I found Dasein. I found Dasein shortly after they opened in 2013, 2014. Before that, I mean, it's funny because my first memory ever actually is of a perfume. I got
Hmm.
a Little Mermaid perfume when I was like 3 years old for Christmas. And my parents took it away from me because I was allergic to it. And I just remember like staring at the sunlight streaming through the bottle. It was up on this windowsill and I couldn't reach because I was so little. And I think I've just been like pursuing and searching for that perfume ever since. But
Wow.
yeah, it's funny. So in a way, it goes way back. But I wore Chanel Chance in high school,
Okay.
which is semi-regrettable, but at the time seemed very cool. um, and then I wasn't into fragrance until I walked into a little boutique in Atlanta one day called Young Blood, and they still carry us. And I saw this bottle on the shelf, and it was just this frosty bottle with this kind of crisp yellow liquid in it. And I was like, this looks interesting. And so I just picked it up, sprayed it on my wrist, and it was just love at first sniff. I just hadn't ever smelled anything like it. It didn't smell like a fragrance that came out of a department store. It was unique and interesting and had this very modern profile, especially with the pine right up top, the cardamom underlying it. And I was just in love. I bought the bottle, wore it for years and got so many compliments. And then eventually, I think the second bottle I added to my collection was Neroli Portofino by Tom Ford because I
Hmm.
wanted something lighter for summer. Love that fragrance still.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then Winter Nights came out from Dasein, and I bought that and fell in love all over again. And since then, I've obviously, of course, gotten a lot more interested in it, and like buying the brand and just getting into fragrance. And let's see, some of the ones I really love right now. I love BDK's Gris Charnel, of course. I actually
Yeah.
love layering it with Winter and Winter Nights, all the
Oh,
cardamoms together. Super cozy vibe. Right now I'm wearing Wiener Blut's Clubwasser. It's this really
don't know it.
fresh, like gin and tonic kind of scent.
Hmm.
They're an Austrian brand. Yesterday I was wearing Gallivant's Istanbul. I don't know if you've heard of
It's
that brand,
great.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah. So good. But yeah, that's really my experience. Winter has been kind of my own signature scent for a long time now and still my favorite.
Yeah. And winter has quickly become probably my favorite. I have it here. And this was that bottle of golden liquid, I guess you were talking
There
about
she
here.
is.
Yeah. And I mean, you just look at it and you're like, this looks interesting. Name's very simple, very easy to understand. And I totally agree. The scent profile is so authentic. It is so transportive, but it's so easy to digest. Anyone could smell it in the air around you and just be drawn in, but in an easygoing way. So, yeah, it's so easy to wear for anything. I can see why you had it as a signature. It's quite perfect for that. And it sounds like, your journey has naturally progressed. We call it your fragrance journey. It's not really that serious, but it's progressed naturally towards the more intriguing. It's obviously, you say you wore Chanel, and it sounds like you departed from that. You said, okay, those days are over. And you said winter drew you in because it didn't smell like all the other things, all the mainstream fragrances. So it sounds like your taste immediately gravitated towards that. And obviously all the fragrances you just named are more artistic, more niche, so to speak. And that's what I like too. That's kind of where I've gone as well. So 2021 comes around. Tell us about how Dasein came onto your radar as an opportunity to possibly own the company. What's going on with that?
Yeah. So I had been wearing the fragrance for years. I was just a big fan of the brand. I had turned other people onto it, bought it as a gift, I loved the philosophy of the brand, and I loved how the fragrances were elegant but simple. They had this modern profile, but not weird. I like to think of them as if Hemingway designed a fragrance, simple but still poetic. So
yeah,
I was just hook, line, and sinker sold on these fragrances. And I was on their email list, and had never seen myself working in the fragrance industry, getting into the fragrance industry before. It was a total lark. But when I learned that the original founder, Dr. Sam Rader, intended to close the business to write her book, she'd gotten a book deal, I was so bummed out to hear that the brand was going to close. And I wasn't the only one. I mean, people kind of freaked out, and all the fragrances were sold out within 4 hours of the announcement. I was searching the internet desperately to try to get a last bottle of winter.
Oh, wow.
I was just talking to a friend, and I don't know, the idea just came to me. I was like, why don't we just reach out and see if there could be a new chapter for this business? Does it really have to close? It's not like it's doing badly. It's that, the founder is so busy and just doesn't have time for it. And, what if it doesn't have to shut down? So we reached out, and luckily Sam was really welcoming and enthusiastic. And by spring of 2021, we had bought the business and we're ready to produce fragrance and bring the top sellers back.
Wow.
It was a journey.
Yeah, I mean, to be so drawn by your heart, to say I love these fragrances, I love this brand, I don't want to see it go away, and to just obviously be in a position to do something about it, but to actually take the step. I mean, as you said, you had never saw yourself in the perfume industry, you had no experience. So I presume that upon jumping in, the learning process started. So if you don't have to go into the whole thing, because I know there's a lot that happened, but if you have a few highlights in your mind in the process of getting this brand off the ground, things that you encountered that you maybe would have never expected, some things that were some hard lessons, or even some really cool, surprising things that you're happy you learned about, or that were very good, or anything like that. And keep it as limited as you want or as expansive as you want in terms of what you want to share.
Well, it's definitely been a roller coaster. And I know that some of the struggles of producing fragrance, but actually producing Winter and Winter Nights in 2021, I mean, it was just a total comedy of errors. From supply chain issues to shady vendors, and the trials and tribulations of maintaining super high quality standards for our ingredients.
Yeah.
Our whole manufacturing system is really designed for mass production, maximum exploitation of natural and human resources. And it can be very opaque and difficult to navigate. And we were new to it, and this was right in the middle of COVID.
Yeah.
So it took almost 10 months to bring the fragrances back and actually have them available to ship. And in that process, the integrity of the juice itself was really our North Star. We kept the formulas exactly the same. We used the same process we had used in the past. And we even went to great lengths to source the ingredients from the same sources that they had been sourced from before. So that was our North Star, and that guided us through. And the whole Dasein community and fan base was also just so gracious and supportive throughout the whole thing. We were desperately trying to be ready to ship by holiday 2021, and it just wasn't going to happen with all the delays. And people had been waiting like a year to get these sold out fragrances, and people were just so kind and understanding to us as we worked out the kinks and like prepared to ship. And so yeah, it was definitely a process, but you know, once we got through that, it got a lot easier.
Yeah. I mean, hurdles doesn't even seem to do it justice. I mean, you described it well. Just I can only imagine. You know, in 2021 is when I did my first collaboration with a brand called Zaharoff and brought a fragrance to market with I was fortunate enough to be in a position to where I wasn't making these calls. I wasn't, you know, having to call the shots or really truly make the decisions or bear the brunt of the errors. The brand was, leading the ship in that sense. But nonetheless, I was able to observe like, oh, this is a tricky thing to do. And especially during that time, during COVID, all the supply chain stuff, limited resources, prices going up for things. And so we even had to, it delayed our process for getting our first run of fragrances out there. But I feel like yours was definitely laughable, as you've put it. I mean, comedy of errors. Wow. What a process. So yeah, it's been quite a run to this point, and I'm sure it's felt like a very long time because it's just been so much work crammed in since you got started. And reality is, I guess you're about 2 years in from the time you acquired the brand. You know, in the grand scheme, I guess that's not a ton of time, but if you just look at everything that's happened, it's like, oh my gosh, how this has been like all of your life has been poured into this, so I'm curious, like after coming through all of that, coming to today, in terms of where the brand is right now, how do you feel? How would you compare how you feel about your outlook today versus, the bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, getting started version 2 years ago? Because
oh my gosh,
growth, I'm sure.
It has. I mean, what I've really learned is that if you want great things to happen, you have to take the risk first. And that's what's hard about doing anything.
Yes.
Takes courage, is you have to be willing to show up and not know what the outcome is going to be, not be able to control everything. I mean, just the manufacturing process was a big lesson in what I have control over and what I just don't. I think what I've learned is that when you can kind of muster that courage to show up without knowing how things are going to go, like all of the support you need will show up for you. I ended up buying my business partner out last year, and it was really scary at first because I was still so new to everything, and now I was doing it alone. But so many brilliant people have shown up, both people I knew, like people from my life, and then people I didn't know before, to contribute and like help revive this beloved brand. And so it's ended up being a really beautiful process. The thing that led me into embarking on this kind of wild journey is the thing that I still feel good about, which is the product itself. I think like as a consumer, like I want substance, I want value. And I think people want substance and value. And I think Dasein is alive today because the fragrances themselves are brilliant and special. And, there's a lot of marketing out there and a lot of like promises that aren't always backed up by like the quality and originality and substance that you would hope for. And I think people are sick of that.
Yeah.
I am. And so what I know for sure at the end of every day is that our product is so solid and that what I'm offering people has real value. And so that feels like such a solid foundation to stand on. And I think it's why we have this great community of customers and enthusiasts who are totally like the wind beneath our wings. And bringing this forward, because it is a labor of love. I still work a day job, and we're making the road as we walk. I think overall, I've just like learned to trust myself and to trust the people around me and like to trust the process, knowing that like I'm standing on solid ground and you have to make the jump. So I feel really grateful for having done that and for being able to have the opportunity to continue to do that.
Wow. So well said. I, I have to say, I am so proud of you to
Oh, thank
see,
you.
to see you come to this point, because again, we did talk when we first talked around the time you got started, and I just remember it was like so exciting. We had so many plans, and then we would talk again a couple months later, and it's like, you're not gonna believe what happened. This, and a couple months after that, oh my gosh, we wanted to get it out by winter, but it's not gonna. And I would just sit on the sidelines, like, I can only imagine what this is like. But I knew for a fact, it's like, you're totally right. These products, they speak for themselves. They are truly quality. And that's why it's been so easy for me to share them with people, because I don't want to share anything otherwise on my platform. Stuff that I don't believe in is not going to get talked about. And winter is currently, I would say, my most worn of the collection so far. For the fall time, I was getting some good times out of Winter Nights, which
Oh yeah,
is stunning. Like,
I love that one.
and again, the way I like to describe it to people is, as soon as I smell it, I'm sitting on a log by a campfire in the winter. The air is cold, it's nighttime. So you have this juxtaposition of the warmth of the fire, the smoke, with the cold air. That is just incredible to me. Every time I smell it, I'm like, I am there. And that's what I want my perfume to do for me. And that's, the most authentic products do that. They really transcend just molecules going up into your nose. It's a beautiful diversity, but there's so much cohesion. And that is a hard thing to do as a brand, to have diversity, but to have an identity at the same time, and to come in as the new owner, and to just take the reins of a platform that had already been laid out, and to just like take it further, but using the same ideals. I think it's a lot harder than people might think. People would think, oh, it was already created, you just pick it up and go. No, like, it's no,
I
it's
wish.
not. It's not. Obviously creating
Yeah.
something from the ground up is different. It's just a different kind of challenge. And so to do what you've done up to this point, I'm just like, again, so proud of you and so thrilled to see the feedback. So with all that being said, I'm really curious, like, what are you excited about moving forward? Like, even just the next step, like, what is something you're looking forward to doing or trying or creating or bringing with the brand?
Well, first of all, thank you for the kind words. That means a lot coming from you. I know you have a very discerning nose.
Yeah.
So coming up, things that excite me. Okay, well, we just are now wrapping up a brand refresh process.
Okay.
Getting a little makeover on our logo and our branding, and it's been a long time coming. And I was able to work with Patrick Kelly, who you might know from Sigil Scent, which
Yeah.
is now out of business, but such a beautiful brand. And he led the process for our brand refresh. It was incredible. And I also have
Wow.
a dear friend who is an art director and supported that process. And I'm really happy with the result. It feels like it translates the essence of Dasein very well. So I'm excited to share that with the world soon. There's nothing out yet, but
Awesome.
seeing a little refresh here soon. Another thing, so we've been sold out of samples for months. We've got a really long wait list. And
Yeah.
we're like, the samples are coming back, they're on their way. So
Yeah.
for anyone watching who wants to smell these, we will have samples soon.
Awesome.
And let's see what else. Dasein fans have been asking for a candle for years, probably like 10 years now. We're working on it. It may take a while, it may not happen this year. I'm not sure like what it's going to take, but we have heard your pleas for candles, and I too want a winter candle. And so we're working on that. And then beyond that, I mean, I really want to work on some new fragrances. Our fragrances so far have been designed by really talented independent perfumers. Sam Rader, the original owner of the brand, and Josh Meyer of Imaginary Authors. And so I'm excited to continue to work with people who really think outside the box and bring a really creative approach to the fragrance design process. I think that's one of the things that sets Dasein apart. Our fragrances are very like experiential, and they kind of transport you to that feeling of sitting by a campfire or some scene from Christmas from your childhood. Like they're very transportive, and I want to make more sense like that and bring them to the world. And so we're going to be working on that. And that's the thing that I think our fans and customers have told us they want the most of all, new fragrances. So that's
Yeah.
our big thing that we're going to be turning to next. And yeah, really excited to continue to share with you as things unfold.
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, when I hear the idea of new fragrances from you guys, I'm shivering. I'm trying to hold my excitement, and I'm not gonna pry into that because I would really love to and say, "Oh, what are you thinking?" But no, bro, I'll leave that as an enigma for now, and we'll just let the anticipation build. Because I'm sure whatever it is, it's gonna be Dasein. It's gonna be great. So we really look forward to that. Moving in a really fun direction, and you're opening things up to have a little bit more freedom to feel like, you know what, yeah, instead of just surviving and keeping my head down and trying to like, do we have enough bottles and that kind of stuff, it's like, oh, we can actually be visionaries now again. It's great to be getting to that point. So that's wonderful.
It's been a
Yeah.
long road. I'm very excited to be poking my head out from that.
Yeah, trust me, I understand. Yeah, I think that's all the questions I really had. I think that's a pretty cool glimpse into, you know, what this road has been like. And obviously people can't get the half of it just from this conversation, but obviously we also can't be sitting here all day. Otherwise, I'd love to. I think this is great. And obviously I'll be talking more about the brand on my channel. I have spoken about them several times, guys. So if you do a search on YouTube for Dasein Fragrances, my videos will probably come up because there's been several and there will continue to be. So Jen, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to chat and to share the story and share the vision.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been such a joy to get to chat today and to get to know you throughout this process, and just really appreciate you so faithfully translating our fragrances. I know it's hard to put fragrance into words, and you have a real gift for that. Thank you for always doing right by our scents. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. And the viewers, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. We'll talk to you in the next video. Bye.